Before the world saw her as Queen Bey, the icon, the phenomenon, the voice that could shatter glass and expectations alike, Beyoncé Giselle Knowles was just a young girl standing in front of her mirror in Houston, Texas, singing not for fame but for freedom, for expression, for something in her soul that longed to be heard. Born into a supportive but disciplined family, she learned early that dreams come true only when you're willing to bleed for them in silence, long before anyone's cheering for you. Her father, a relentless manager, and her mother, a nurturing stylist, built a foundation around her talent, pushing her into rehearsals, auditions, and stages while other kids played outside. It paid off. Destiny's Child became a global force, with Beyoncé as its center, the calm in the storm, the elegance in chaos. But behind the glittering success, there was exhaustion. There was pressure. There was pain. The world demanded perfection, and Beyoncé, still in her teens, gave everything she had to meet those expectations, often losing pieces of herself in the process. Fame wasn't gentle. It was fast, ruthless, and constant. And with every hit song, there was also criticism. Every magazine cover brought comparisons. Every interview chipped at her private self. She was the leader, the star, the standard. But who was she when the lights dimmed? The stress began to suffocate her spirit. After Destiny's Child disbanded, she faced an identity crisis. Was she enough on her own? Could she create without the group? Could she breathe without the noise? It was during this transition, amidst personal betrayals, artistic doubts, and overwhelming public expectations, that Beyoncé silently slipped into depression. Not the kind people see, but the quiet, paralyzing kind that shows up in your mirror and whispers lies. You're not enough. You're a fraud. You've peaked. She struggled in silence, performing while breaking, smiling while aching, bowing while crumbling. But Beyoncé didn't give up. She slowed down. She turned inward. She began healing not by pretending to be strong, but by admitting that she wasn't. She reconnected with her roots, journaling, praying, reflecting, and redefining who she was, not as a product, but as a woman. And from that darkness came art that changed the world. Albums like Beyoncé, and especially Lemonade, were not just musical triumphs, they were spiritual awakenings. She sang about betrayal, about love that wounds and heals, about motherhood, womanhood, and Black identity with a vulnerability that shook the industry. She took control of her music, her business, her image, and her voice. She didn't wait for the industry to give her power, she took it. She launched Parkwood Entertainment, curated her own visuals, redefined what it meant to be a performer, and shattered the outdated molds the industry forced upon Black women. She became not just a singer, but a visionary, a businesswoman, a cultural movement. Her live shows became spiritual experiences, crafted with precision, soaked in emotion, rooted in history. Through motherhood, she discovered new strength. Through pain, she unearthed her power. Through silence, she found her roar. Beyoncé showed the world that you could be soft and strong, broken and bold, quiet and commanding, all at once. She started speaking for the voiceless, standing for social justice, gender equality, Black pride, and artistic freedom, not as a marketing tool, but as a mission. And yet, even as the world worshipped her, she remained grounded. She spoke openly about body image, about losing herself, about fighting through postpartum depression, about vulnerability. She became a mirror in which millions saw themselves, not just in her power, but in her healing. Her message was clear. You can rebuild yourself. You can cry and still conquer. You can collapse and still rise higher than ever before. And through it all, she never let the fame distort her purpose. She didn't chase attention, she earned devotion. She didn't chase applause, she created impact. She didn't escape the dark, she walked through it with grace. Today, Beyoncé stands not just as the most awarded singer of all time, not just as the woman who shut down the Super Bowl, Coachella, and the entire internet. She stands as a symbol of what's possible when you face your demons, embrace your truth, and use your pain as your palette. Her journey from silence to strength, from depression to destiny, is not just about becoming the most powerful woman in music. It's about becoming the most honest version of herself. And that honesty, that courage, that fire, is what makes her immortal. Beyoncé's legacy is not just in her voice. It's in her vulnerability. Not just in her performances, but in her persistence. Not just in her empire, but in her empathy. She has taught millions that being a queen isn't about being above others. It's about rising, breaking, building, and then reaching down to lift others with you. And in doing so, Beyoncé didn't just beat depression. She transformed it into her greatest masterpiece.